This is KUGAN CASSIUS for Rifle TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. We're at Frank Warren's office here. Part two of our interview to sort of round off the year. Obviously, we know where to start. You have a new world champion in middleweight Billy Joe, capturing the WBO middleweight crown last weekend. Must be very satisfying for you, Frank. Billy Joe's been with you from the start of his career, and you've guided him right the way through British and Commonwealth European titles to Saturday night.
Yeah, we've all worked together as a team. Jimmy Tibbs has done a great job, and excuse me, and I'm yeah, of course I'm delighted. You know, from day one, we've worked together, and it's culminated in him winning the world title, and I think he won it in a very, for me, it was a really compelling fight, and I think he won it in good style.
Since Saturday, he's probably been linked with just about every top-name fighter out there. Quite notably, talk of Miguel Cotto. I saw something on Golovkin's Twitter account yesterday. What fight do you want to see? You know, Canelo Golovkin or Saunders Golovkin, which was well, it was quite. It's not a surprise because he's world champion now, so he's going to be targeted.
Well, he's undefeated, he's world champion, he's done everything that's been asked of him, but they're all to him. But I'm going to tell you straight, we have not had a single discussion with anybody about any fights. You know, we said immediately after the fight, Bill and I, you know, we did our interviews, we said, let's wait till after Christmas and then we'll sit down and see what direction we go. I have not spoken to a single soul about Billy Joe. I had one text, I had loads of texts. One came through from Jonathan Etuck, who's Eubank's lawyers, but we have had zero discussion with him.
I don't know how it works anymore, Frank. You don't have to have any sort of discussion. It's all over social media that he's fighting all these fighters. So
that's great. Well, it's news to me, and I'm sure that's news to Bill, because at the end of the day, it's going to be down to Bill and his management team, and myself, who decide. And the bottom line is there have been no discussions. There are a lot of attractive fights there, a lot of fights I'd like to see, and I'm sure there's a lot of fights that the fans would like to see. But, you know, we'll do it in our own time, not in their time. They don't, you know, he's the champion. At the end of the day, it'd be the decision of his decision, not anybody else's at all.
One thing I did read today that Chris Eubank had done a story in the Sun newspaper and stated that negotiations were underway for a summer fight with Chris Eubank. Can you shed any light on that?
Is this English or junior?
This is English, yes.
Well, in plain English, I've not even spoken with him, and nobody from my side has had any conversation as we're doing this interview with anybody from the Eubank team at all.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Just to let everyone know, it's about 12 o'clock now on the 23rd of December. I'm just saying,
you know, I have had zero conversation with anybody, zero. So that's it.
So obviously, being aware of his current situation regarding Matchroom and him and the purse bid situation, looking at that, is there a possibility that we could see the rematch now?
Well, look, anything's possible. You know, Bill wants fights. He wants big fights. He wants to be in meaningful fights, and he wants to make money. So anything's possible. But you know, the truth of the matter is, there's been no discussions. We had a very painful experience with him over the summer, and it actually screwed us up over the summer. It stopped us doing a big show that we thought was a done deal, down to the fact they wouldn't vacate their interim title to make the fight happen, and we agreed to terms, and they chose not to take the fight, and then vacated their title, and that said all you needed to know. At the moment there's a purse bid out there for him. I think he gets about 120 grand in his next fight, doesn't he? He's ended the purse bid from what McKenna's bid for him to fight his man. That's what he's got at the moment. Bill's the world champion, so we will, if we do have any discussions, that'll be only after I've had a discussion with Bill and the team. Nothing's going to happen until then. There has been zero discussion.
What's your take on that situation regarding, obviously, Matchroom losing the purse bid to Mick Hennessy, and then Chris Eubank from his Twitter saying that
Yeah.
They've been released from the contract they had with Matchroom. What is your take on that, Frank?
Well, obviously, it must be in the contract that they must win purse bids, and if they haven't won the purse bid, they can't deliver the fight, or they've had a time limit to deliver a fight, and they didn't do it. So they obviously didn't believe in him enough to bid enough money for their man to win the purse bid. So that's where they are. Let me tell you that. I hear what I know you want. I couldn't give a monkey's up. You know, I let them. They can all do what they want to do. I don't give a monkeys about it. You know, dealing with him, you lose the will to live. I promise you that. Having said that, the boy, he's young junior. He looks, all the dealings I've had with him, he's been very respectful, very nice, and I've got great admiration from that side. But the management team has cost him a lot of money over the last year, huge money, and I know that because I know what was on the table to fight Bill last summer. So it is what it is. If I was him, I'd be sort of scratching my head saying, what's going on here? 1 minute I'm there, like they move from here to there to everywhere. But obviously, Matchroom didn't have him tied down.
You've been very vocal about the difficulties you've had working with English, Chris Eubank Sr., but you're a promoter, you're in the game, you're open to any discussion if it's right for you.
I've got to do the best I can for Bill, and that's all that matters. When I made the fight, the very first fight, I made the fight because I felt Bill would beat him. I didn't make the fight because I thought Chris Eubank would win. I made the fight because I believe Billy Joe Saunders, and we had the discussion before we made the fight. I said, this is a fight you can win, and that's why I made it. That's what we did, and I tried to make it and thought I had a deal. We agreed all the money and everything, and I mentioned earlier about this title he won't vacate. I made the rematch because I know he'll win the rematch. Because he's come on since then. He's a better fighter. If it suits, we'll make it. If it don't suit, then he can be parked up and we move on to the next one. And maybe down the road we'll do it. But we're only going to do it when it suits, not when it suits them. It's when it suits us.
Just finally on this matter, can I just give you a couple of quotes that Chris Eubank Sr. said about you in the last couple of days? He called you a legend and said that you taught him a lot, to those words.
Did he? Taught him a lot. Well, very kind of him to say all these things, and appreciate that. But I've got to tell you something. I can't afford the Anadin bill anymore. Dealing with him, I must have done all my money on Anadin. It's a headache. He can say all the things he wants to say, but the situation is I'm not in the Chris Eubank Jr. business. I'm with Billy Joe Saunders. That's where my flag has been nailed from day one, and that's where I'm at. And whatever suits Billy Joe is what we're going to go with, not what suits anybody else and whatever. And as regarding being a leg end, we'll see.
Going back to the show on Saturday at Manchester Arena, Frank, can you confirm the attendance you had in for the Manchester Arena on Saturday, and secondly, were you disappointed with the tickets that were sold ultimately for that night?
Well, we didn't do as well as we expected to do. To be quite, and I'm being very honest about that. But I don't know where it was the week before Christmas. The fact it'd been postponed twice. We was expecting a big turnout from the travelling community, and that didn't happen. But it was. I mean, you was there. Fabulous atmosphere. It looked good, and the fights were good. And what I won't do, I won't put tickets out in the secondary market. I won't give them to StubHub. I won't advertise. I don't advertise on my shows on the canvas. Ticket for what another word for it. Touting tickets. Doing them StubHub. If you're buying tickets from them, you don't buy them at face value. You're buying them at whatever price over the odds. I won't go down that road and trying to create a market like that. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. It didn't go as well as we would have liked, but we had a fantastic night. My guys all won, bar Mitchell, who it turned out you've seen has broken his hand, which is a great shame. And I must apologise to George Jupp if he thinks that I was being disrespectful when I was having a go at Mitchell the way he prepared for the fight. He prepared 100% George Jupp, and he was an absolute gentleman, and he boxed. He was thoroughly professional, and he was a joy to work with, and good luck to him. And I'm looking forward to seeing him fight again on one of our shows. But we got everything we wanted out of it, So we would have liked more people. That just didn't happen. You go back to the show we did with Billy Joe and Tyson. You couldn't get a ticket. That sold out as you know, like that at the XL, and we've had sellouts. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. It's like what's his name, Anthony Croller's fight up there. Didn't sell, did it? You know, we want to talk about how many people were in there. There's more people in our show for us than there was for Anthony Croller's world title fight. It just happens. Sometimes it happens. You know, when Ricky Hatton, I used to promote Ricky Hatton in Manchester. It took us ages before we sold the place out. He didn't sell it out just like that. It took ages for him to do it. He won, at those days, it was the BU title. And eventually, we got it to a stage where, you know, it was doing great business. And that's a process. Neither of the fighters came from Manchester. One fighter came from Liverpool, in Liam Smith, and young and Jimmy Kelly came from Manchester. But it did what it did. And I thought the fans had a great night. The TV viewers had a great night. And that's what matters. You know, for the Hearns to be talking about that, listen, the tickets weren't on StubHub. We don't advertise StubHub. We don't do that, StubHub. We don't advertise secondary market. I hear all these pop stars coming out moaning about it, even Elton John the other week. They say don't buy them. If they're on there, don't buy them. You can create a market. You know, day one, we sold all the tickets out in 3 minutes. It's impossible to sell the tickets out in 3 minutes. It's impossible. You get onto the, I think the MEN actually came on, said only a few months ago what their biggest selling events were over the last 10 years or since they've been open. I think I'm not sure the amount, about 3 or 4 were ours, were our events. And there's nothing I don't think there was anything of recent there. I mean, you know, the George Groves and Cole Frock fight didn't sell out up in Manchester. It wasn't a sellout. But so what? The fights went on and suddenly it led to a massive sellout at Wembley for them in a fight that, thankfully, George Groves went on and complained about and made the fight happen with the IBF. It's a process. And for somebody to sit there, I mean, old Pinocchio to sit there and keep, moaning and whatever, what's he on about? What's he keep going on about all this crap for? You know, it's irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant. The guys won the fights. It was well received. It got massive publicity in the newspapers. You all see it. They got great reviews, and that's all. And that's what I care about. The next stage will be on to, as you mentioned earlier, who Bill's going to fight in a big fight. We'll go down that road. But what you won't see on the canvas advertising is StubHub. You're a boxing fan. You're looking at somebody advertising a company that means you've got to pay more than the face value of that ticket. You should be pissed off. Not only are they doing that, they're rubbing your nose in it and copying advertising money from it. Crazy. That's what if I was him, I'd be ashamed of doing that. Ashamed of that. Taking the fans on.
Right, moving on, Frank. It has been a very good year for your stable. You've established 3 world champions in Terry Flanagan at lightweight, Liam Smith at light middle, and recently Billy Joe. So,
and a few guys on the cusp.
Yeah, a few guys that are on the verge of challenging. So, moving forward now, we know Terry Flanagan obviously will defend against Derry Matthews in a great fight in Liverpool on February the 13th. Liam Smith just obviously had his first defence, but in relation to Liam Smith, there's a number of big fights out there that could be made for Liam Smith.
You know, I would like to have him to fight on the 13th, but he's what he said, he's been in training camp a lot, and I get that and I understand that, and he's having the Christmas, and that opportunity was there for him. But he'll probably fight again sometime in March. And again, over the Christmas, I want to look at all the different possibilities, sit down with the team, and then go through it. And let's say, look, this is the next move. You know, we've done brilliant for him. I mean, I'm sort of blowing my own trumpet for the guys. We delivered them everything we said we would do, and Liam's stayed very, very loyal and brilliant. And he's, and I know I've delivered and helped. Hopefully helping him forward, and we got some good fights there to be made, and the same with Billy Joe, and as I say with Derry, and Terry. There's a great fight there, and the winner of that could hopefully maybe fighting Crolla. I mean, Crolla doesn't. It's about fighting the Linares. I was hearing about that today. So you want to be doing that fight the winner. They're the money fights, and you get good money for it. You never know, it might be on Sky Box Office.
You announced the signing a few days ago of Zolani Tete, who obviously boxing fans are very aware of, who beat Paul Butler. Talk to me about why this signing of Tete, Frank.
Well, they came to us a few months ago and said, said they'd like us to, if we'd get involved, and he made a good, too much of a good impact over here. But why not? He's a good fighter, so we're going to get some fights for him. He's going to fight at a higher weight division, and I think that's good for the boxing fans over here.
What bill will he start his
I don't know yet.
career on?
I don't know.
BoxNation career, right?
I don't know yet. We've got to work that one out, but he'll probably be sometime in the first quarter of next year. And we're also working from, also as importantly, we're working on, Paul Butler, who had a fantastic win on Saturday. I thought he looked unbelievably, back to his best, and I'm looking forward to getting him out there, and I'm look forward to the fight with Mr. Conran. I think that's going to be a really good bout.
Is that fight close to being made?
It's more or less made. It's a matter of us, agreeing the terms. I mean, both parties want the fight, and that makes it easier to do. So we'll get it done, and get the date sorted out, and that'll happen sometime within the next 4 or 5 months, guaranteed.
Last year, the big domestic clash you had on BoxNation was Saunders-Eubank. This year was Saunders-Lee. Next year, where do you see it coming from? Is it Saunders again?
I just think fights happen. We made, for a reason, we made the fight with Eubanks. November, was it 2014? We made that fight, and that allowed Andy to fight for the vacant title. He secured the title, and suddenly it wasn't. I mean, there's always that the winner would have to fight the winner of Bill and Eubanks, but it wasn't planned. I didn't sit there and think, there's some grand master scheme here for this to happen. It happened, and then because I made sure contractually that they would all have to fight each other, those fights, the fights eventually happened. There's some great fights out there for next year for the guys, and they're great domestic fights involving, real quality domestic world-class fighters, and they're obviously the ones that the fans want to see. There's lots of big names being thrown in the hat for a lot of the guys that I'm involved with, but and I think they're all capable, by the way. I think they are real capable fighters that are holding their own against the best in the world, these 3 champions. They're quality fighters, quality champions, and they've been brought along well. And I think that, next year they're going to do some really good things.
Just to confirm, obviously, there was no rematch clause in the contract with Lee and Saunders, correct?
Absolutely not, no.
Do you rule out a rematch, though, with Andy Lee at some point?
Listen, anything can happen down the road, but no rush. No rush. As I say, who knows what's going to happen down the road. It's at the end of the day, it's about, we sit down, Saunders' team sits down, and we will make a decision. But he's not in a rush, and I'm certainly not in a rush to go through it. His manager Danny and I have spoke about it, but there is no rush to do anything.
Who do you believe your next 2 world champions will be from your stable?
Well, I think Paul Butler will win a world title. I think Jack Cattrall's going to win a world title. I think Tommy Langford looked outstanding. I thought Liam Williams looked outstanding. Now I'm sort of blowing all my guys under, but they actually do look good. I think Mitchell Smith. I think it may be a blessing in disguise what happened. And again, I'm not being disrespectful to George Jupp, but he's got to get his act together, and I think he'll learn from that. There are a lot of young fighters on there that we've got and who fought on Saturday. Are there to not far off of next year, certainly being in the number 1 spot, if not a couple of them fighting for world titles. I think Paul will very quickly.
For the first time in a long time, you don't currently have a heavyweight in your stable, is that right?
Well, we got Ustinov, Russian. We're talking to somebody else at the moment, which hopefully I'll get the deal done. I'll be quite pleased with that. Let Derek go. I was very disappointed in his, the last performance he had with me, and I wish him well on that, but couldn't be doing with that anymore. It's too much. Very disappointed. We don't. I mean, we don't. I would like to have worked with Anthony Joshua, and we were talking to somebody at the time before he'd done his deal with his new deal with Matchroom, and he's going to be now exclusively on pay-per-view. So it's going to be interesting to see who they match him with now in pay-per-view fights, considering that he said, and quite rightly said, he's not quite ready for all the. You remember all the early days they were talking about he would be world champion tomorrow. He might knock out Tyson Fury now to beat this one, that one. We all know it. That it's a learning curve, and let's get it into perspective. He fought Dylan White, who's who's been fighting on the small halls. He's a real game side. Showed much more in that fight than I thought he would. But they're going to have a way to go with him, and I just think that heavyweight division at the moment is there's some exciting fights there to be made, and hopefully, if I get this guy that we're signing, I'm hoping to get in the mix.
We know currently that, as far as I know, David Hay hasn't got a TV and broadcaster announced for his fight on the 16th. Have BoxNation had they been in talks with Hay's team over that?
I understand. I didn't deal with it. I understand George and his new promotional team have had a discussion, but I don't know where that is at the moment.
And as regards to Tyson Fury, do you rule him out ever being on BoxNation again? We
will see. There's a few things that have got to be resolved from our perspective on that, and hopefully we can get them resolved to everybody's satisfaction.
But I mean, listen, it's obviously 2016. It's it seems like obviously listening to whoever talk, everyone's saying the right things, and they're happy to work with everyone. But 2016 could be the year that we potentially see people working together. That
listen, you make them work together. Put the fight out to purse bids.
But that's a forced environment.
It's not a forced environment. What you think we're all? Oh, let's meet down the pub. Let's go have a pint. Oh yeah, let's make it. It doesn't happen. Real world. Why would they, if they got a fighter that think my fighter's going to beat one of theirs? You think they're going to make that fight? Of course they're not going to make it. We've made them offers for a lot of fights in the past, and it hasn't happened. The bottom line is, as I say, the easiest way is to force the fight. If you force it, it has to happen. For example, Mick Hennessy's guy who's got to fight Chris Eubank Jr. Mick Blackwell. That was forced. The Board of Control said, you've got to fight him. So it went out to purse bids, and the biggest purse bid won. That makes the fight happen, or maybe it might not happen, I don't know, but at least gets it to a stage where, some money goes on the table, and is this going to go on or not? And I believe that when you look at that's the easiest way to deal with it. If you can't agree terms, get on with it and make it for the benefit of the fans. And that old thing, my boxers are not going to fight unless they're on Sky anymore. Well, we killed that now, haven't we? Because if it's a very big fight, it'll go on Sky box office, a BoxNation Sky box office fight. So that's gone out the window, that one.
You'll be in a situation where there'll be purse bids for Egginson and Skeet as well.
Yeah, great. The best man wins. Whoever wins the purse bid gets the fight. I think my man wins the fight. Whoever puts it on, but let's just get it on. These are fights that the fans want to see, and quite rightly, I want to see them. I'm a fan. I want to see these fights, and we've got a level playing field now. The game has changed this year. We've had to put a lot of investment, a lot of time into build. We've built fighters, helped them on their careers. When I say built, they've obviously got in the ring and done the business, but to make the opportunities, to put the investment in. When I was reading Barry Hearn, a piece from Barry Hearn in the Times the weekend, where he described himself as the top sports promoter in the world. This is him describing himself as that, and then he's talking about how he took Eddie down the gym when he was 16. They put a pair of gloves on because he wanted to see it as a man, and he threw the biggest punch he ever threw in his life at him, and it shook down his hand. I don't know, this is the accountant, by the way. I don't know if he put his pen down before he threw that shot. Suddenly he's a tough guy, and he's and what is all this crap about? And having to go about traditional promoters. Well, what's traditional? I don't think traditional is good in some areas, but I think we've been innovative. We've gone out and started our own channel. It can't be no more breaking away from the traditional system than that. We've gone out and started our own channel. Traditionally, though, have carried on bringing the fighters through and promoting them and bringing them through like you always do, and like we've always done. So that side of it's good. And now, even breaking away from that, even further away, and being groundbreaking. We've now been, BoxNation, not me, BoxNation have been negotiating and are more or less, or are now discussing commercial terms to do a pay-per-view on Sky. Can't be no more further away and being innovative. We've done that. We're our own men. If Sky were ever to pull out of boxing, which I hope they would never do you actually think Barry Hearn's going to put his hand in his pocket and invest? The answer to that's no. He won't do it because he's an accountant at heart. As much as he went down the gym when he was 16 and threw this powerful right hand, wherever that come from, it's not going to happen. And that's the difference. Cut all my lot in half and it says boxing. It doesn't say accountant, which sometimes might be to my detriment. But the facts of the matter is that's what we are. We're in it, and that we like to bring our invest in our time and our money in the guys we work with and bring them through and develop the talent. And what's held us up the last couple of years is commercially has been the fact that we've had to invest in the channel, be our own, do our own thing, which has cost us a lot of time, a lot of money. But now the whole game changes. Next year it changes in a dramatic fashion. As we mentioned earlier about the be able to access 12 million Sky pay-per-view subscribers for pay-per-view events. We're going to have that facility for our fighters and other things that we're working on. There are other areas and other things that we're working on. So it's the game's will change a bit, and it'll be good fun next year. I mean, it's going to be. I love a challenge, that, and it's going to be. For all of us, we're going to have it's going to be good. It's going to create the market's going to get more competitive, and for me, it doesn't get any better than that. I keep reading this stuff about. If I hear again about Wembley, Cole sold 80,000 tickets for Wembley.
Did he?
Yeah. If I keep hearing about Wembley happened purely because, and I'll bang on this by George Groves, but those type of shows come along once in a blue moon. At the end of the day, you still got to invest. You still got to get those fighters from that position up there so they can make those big fights. And there's only one way to do that, and that's a traditional way. You got to find the right fights. They got to fight for the titles, and you have to bring them through. There ain't no other way you can do it. And more importantly, they've got to be able to fight. That's what it's all about. And at the particular time, a lot of things fell into place. As I said, with George Groves demanding a rematch, forcing the rematch, going and telling the IBF who installed him that to get the fight, they weren't going to get it. Then Carl would have got stripped. All those things happened, and things happen for a reason. But boxing's not all about one event. It's about what goes on a regular basis. Look at Terry Flanagan, the way he come through with Steve Woods, putting him on all those small shows and that. Traditional. That's a real traditional way, but he did it, and I've always wanted to get involved with him, and eventually I was managed to do the deal with him to get that done. That's where we're at now, and as I say, with some of the good news that we've sort of ended the year on. I mean, our investments paid off with some of our fighters, and as I say, some of the youngsters are really ready to go. And more importantly, as I say, that the way people are going to be able to watch BoxNation fights is dramatically going to change next year.
Look forward to it. Frank, just going back to the interview I did with Eddie Hearn a couple of days ago. In that interview, he said that some of the other promoters would probably like to see him fall. What do you make of that?
Well, been there, done that. Who don't want to see you fall? But there's a lot of jealous people around and so forth. But
are you one of those promoters that?
Listen, if I'd have stayed with Sky, they wouldn't have had the deal. That's the fact. I left Sky, and I didn't leave them with my tail between my legs. I made a conscious decision. I walked away, and the very first fight we put on was Cleverly and Bellew, world title fight. That was the first one. So we didn't walk up because I didn't like the terms that were being offered. And I remember at the time, Eddie Hearn saying that should only be a Commonwealth title fight, that fight. Do you remember? Great fight that it turned out to be. I get on with my... I don't care what he's doing, but I will react to the things that he's saying, and I will react when he keeps lying about this pay-per-view situation, because that is not being jealous of him. That's about him and the story he's been telling boxers. When you look at fighters like, Ricky Burns, that I mentioned earlier, bankrupt because of the advice that he got from him. We told him he got no contracts. He's bankrupt. Used Hearn's lawyers. He went up bankrupt. Paul Smith, Bellew, Cleverly, Kevin Mitchell, Frankie Gavin. All those fighters, all beaten. All beaten. None of them have won a world title with him. Not one of them won a world title. Am I right?
Yeah, from the fighters you've listed there.
And beltings.
And what, say that again?
And all of them have wound up having a belting. Been real fights, which I don't see why. Well, I know why, but just had beltings.
You're saying this promoter rivalry, if you want to call it, being competitive, is not personal to you?
It gets personal when people write letters to tax authorities and things like that. It gets personal. Who would do things like that and writing letters to the government and things? Who would do that? That's personal. Not from me. I don't write those letters, but some promoters like to do things like that. Very snidey, two-faced. It's a dog's thing to do, isn't it?
But when you see, I'm under the assumption that you've never actually had a conversation with Eddie Hearn. Obviously Barry Hearn, but not Eddie Hearn.
I've met Eddie Hearn once. Listen, Barry Hearn. I've known him for, I was in business with one time. With we was involved in the snooker. We done the breakaway snooker tournament. Him, me, and IMG many years ago, which left a lot to be desired. After not a great experience, but. No, Eddie Hearn, I don't. If Anthony Joshua, you speak about. Go and ask Anthony Joshua who he done the deal with. Go and ask George Groves who he did the deal with for his fights. He didn't do the deals with Eddie Hearn. They done the deals with Barry Hearn. We all know that. You know that. I know that. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Well, I don't listen. It's not for me to comment. If you're saying that,
I think he made the fight with Barry Hearn to fight for over the Christmas, and I get that, and I understand it. With. Eddie is what he is. I'll listen to him, and he comes across sometimes saying some quite intelligent things, but I don't like that. They're just all they all do. They will throw out a load of stuff, keep saying all this stuff, and some of it sticks. And this thing that they've been putting out to fighters, and that's the reason what I respond to is that when a fighter's been saying the only way you can earn any money, the only way you can get on any pay-per-view and on big shows is with us because we have the exclusive. With Sky Box Office. We have that. And it was a lie. But these guys believe it. You get built up, you be built up, I'm going to put you on Sky Box Office, you're going to earn all this money. Okay. But that was a lie.
Okay. Well, Frank, unless you've got anything else to add.
I want everybody to have a great Christmas and a fantastic 2016. It's been great working on. I mean, we've had a real roller coaster ride, and it's we've ended the year on quite a high, and I'm quite pleased where we are, and I'm delighted for all the fighters and all the fans that have who've stuck with us and kept behind us. It's been a great roller ride.
Can you name me 3 Christmas presents that will be under the tree for you this year via either your wife, your kids, or whoever? What would they get you?
Sky Box Office. 3 other. What's the other 2 presents? I'm happy with that. That'd do. I'm not a greedy person. That'd do. We'll be okay.
Seriously, no. Listen. All jokes aside, seriously, what would be something that someone would buy you?
What won't be under there? There'll be no slippers and no pipe, and no armchair for me to sit down in. I've still got plenty of energy, plenty of go in me.
They don't buy you old man presents like you'd buy people's granddads and things like that.
No. I get a couple of one of them. A dad's dancing records or something. I don't know. Listen, I'll be with my family over the Christmas, which will be brilliant, and that's really for me all I need for Christmas. I don't need anything else. I have the kids there, so the grandkids, every other day people will be coming over, and I enjoy that. That's my time now, and I'll relax, and then we'll get back in the saddle in January. We've got some good fights coming up. We've got a show at York Hall in January. We've got a really good fight up down there with Ryan Walsh. I'm looking forward to that one, and obviously the big fight in Liverpool. So that's all good. That's what I'm doing. I'll just switch off. What are you doing?
I don't know yet, Frank. Just be with the missus and that sort of thing.
That's good. That's what Christmas is all about, isn't it? About family. It's about enjoying yourselves. That's nice.
I noticed Terry Flanagan was in the box the other day
Yeah.
Arsenal beat Man City. That was an interesting.
I enjoyed that. Yeah. I enjoyed that. Yeah, we had what is it? Noel Gallagher's there, Mike from guy from M People, quite a few people there, and and he was like, Noel weren't too happy, but I said you got to roll with it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, Frank. Wishing you an absolutely Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And we'll catch up the first or second week of January when things get back to normal.
You're interested to see if Arsenal are top of the league by then. Can Leicester sustain this magnificent form and goal scoring that they've done this season? It's been brilliant.
I'll go on record as saying Leicester will not finish in the top four this season. I'd love to see them. I'd love to see them finish. Not ahead of us, but I'd like to see them finish.
I want to see Arsenal win it, but I think it's brilliant, all these teams. I think, like I've been saying it for ages, they've all got crap defences. They're all inconsistent. But it's been made it a bit more exciting. It's great for the fans. I mean, who'd have thought Watford had beaten Liverpool? And look where they are in the league. And
Norwich go to Man United.
Yeah, and Crystal Palace. Yeah, exactly. I think it's good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that as well. A bit of football over the Christmas, so it'll be good.
All right, Frank. Thanks for talking to Rival TV again. And like I said, we'll catch up with you after the new year.
Look forward to it.